I don't really like to comment on topical things or chase trends or be relevant in any way. I'm super late to this, so is this even topical? But if you didn't hear, people are once again angry that George R.R. Martin has not finished A Song of Ice and Fire. And they have once again suggested that someone else do it. And this time they had the audacity to say that to his face and to suggest that Brando Sando do it. The obvious choice, I think we can all agree. This topic unfortunately comes up a lot. So this video isn't really so much about that specifically, because what I just told you, that's it. That's what happened. But this topic comes up kind of a lot, kind of over and over again. It has a habit of coming up over and over again. So I mainly want to make this video just so that the next time this happens, I can point to this video and be like, oh, you want to know my position on that? Yeah, go check out the video that I made in the summer of 2025. Is it even summer? Bath & Body Works already smells like grandma's spice cabinet got knocked over. Anyway, let's get into it. In order to make a counter-argument, you have to understand the argument. And this is where I kind of stumble on this at the very beginning. Great start. Because I cannot understand where anybody ever got the idea that they are owed anything by anyone that isn't their parent or somebody that they have entered into a contractual relationship with. Explain to me the argument, the thought process behind I read, watched, listened, consumed a thing that is incomplete. I liked it. And therefore, the person or the people that are responsible for creating it, they are now required to complete it. Or else they are evil. And then, if they personally cannot meet that obligation, it is their responsibility to find someone who will. So here's a little hypothetical for you. A gal, let's call her Georgia, is making out with a guy. Let's call him Kyle. And he's into it. She's into it. They're into it. But then Georgia gets sleepy and Georgia wants to go to bed. Kyle is not sleepy. Kyle wants to keep going. Kyle wants to finish this. Now, obviously, Georgia is an utter villain for not being willing to finish what she started. But if she is not going to finish this herself, which is really what she ought to do, well then at least she should have the decency to call up one of her gal pals, maybe Sandra or Joanne, give them a buzz and see if they can do it. Only Georgia hasn't called Sandra. Georgia hasn't called Joanne. She's gone to sleep, like that's a totally fine thing for her to do. Unbelievable. So what is Kyle to do but take matters into his own hands? Kyle is forced to do what Georgia won't do herself. Call Sandra, call Joanne himself to see if they'll be so good as to finish what Georgia started. You see, it just sounds so much more reasonable in that context. Sometimes things don't go the way that you want. Sometimes forces beyond your control conspire to orchestrate disappointments for you. Sometimes the TV show that you got really into gets canceled. Sometimes the book series that you really love doesn't get finished by the author. And yeah, that sucks. It's okay to feel disappointed about that. It's okay to wish it were otherwise. But part of growing up is learning that the world does not revolve around you and around what you want. Creative work requires, you guessed it, creativity. And creativity is something that typically cannot be summoned on demand. To say that a creative is lazy or uncommitted or rude for not finishing the album they started composing, the book they started writing, the video they started scripting, is to entirely misunderstand the creative process. Sure, if it were an absolute requirement that something be cobbled together to meet a deadline, words could be summoned, a product could be generated. Would it be good? Probably not. I guess Georgia could put out for Kyle if she was forced, but would anyone really enjoy that? If and when George is ready, he will finish and publish The Winds of Winter. And if that's next year, fantastic. If that's in 5 years, great. And if it's never, that's okay. It happens. It's not the end of the world. I mean, it is the end of the world of Ice and Fire, but, you know. If you were mad before, I somehow feel like my little analogy allegory did not calm you down. If you're thinking of typing something in my comments along the lines of, George would be nothing without his fans, he owes us, I invite you to reconsider. The thing that you are a fan of is the thing that he already created. When you purchased Game of Thrones, you were not entering into a contractual relationship where if you invest your time into consuming this and find that you enjoy it, then George is responsible for making certain that you have a continuous, perpetual supply. He wrote a book. He sold that book to a publisher. The publisher sold that book to you. And that's the end of it. George's obligation, if one exists, it is to an agent. It is to an editor. It is to a publisher. Not to you, the person who happened to enjoy the thing that he already did. Speaking as a minor creator on YouTube, sometimes I feel very inspired to create content, and sometimes I cannot fathom doing that. Were I ever to gain so large a following that I could conceivably make this my full-time job, I would never choose to do that, personally, because I know that my ability to create, my ability to be creative is not something that I can rely on steadily. It's not something I can rely on the way I can rely on my ability to wake up, get ready, get in the car, go to the office, and do emails and spreadsheets and whatever and go home. That I can do all day, every day, as long as I don't have the flu. If I suddenly had 10 million subscribers, I would keep my office job because the muses are fickle. And I would not want my livelihood to depend on my ability to entertain. George is lucky to have attained the kind of success that enables him to support himself without having a traditional job. For many, that's the dream. But as enviable as that level of success is, I personally would not wish to be in his shoes. To feel so creatively inspired and driven to build a world like that of A Song of Ice and Fire, and then to have that passion poisoned by people who feel entitled to have you entertain them, like petty kings demanding their court jester make them laugh, elsewise off with their heads, that would be devastating. If something I loved creating was tainted forever by being associated with that kind of disgusting behavior, it would break my heart because I would no longer find any joy in it. Do you think that George is sitting around not writing because he just can't be arsed? And if only a fan were to say to him, "Hey George, don't you know, there's people waiting and hoping that you'll finish this," and that George would go, "By golly, is that a fact? Why did no one tell me? I better get cracking." Or do you think that he does know, but he just doesn't know how much people really want this? And that maybe if we just yell at him, maybe if we parade him through the streets, ringing a bell and chanting shame, 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 that'll suddenly get the creative juices flowing again. If you are a fan of A Song of Ice and Fire, or of any creative endeavor, books, movies, television, music, you should reflect on how grateful you are that you got to experience what you did. And you can be hopeful that someday there may be more. Hope is great, but to expect more, to demand more, by what right? Grow up.